I'm Christian Ho. I am 16 years old. I do F4 racing, and my dream is to be in Formula 1.
Christian Ho for second place and comes right around the outside. That is fantastic.
Christian Ho!
I really got into racing when we went for just some fun karting, and they told me that I had quite a bit of speed. That really propelled me, I guess, to start karting in the first place.
Yeah, I saw that you relocated to Italy at the age of 12 in order to pursue karting in Europe, right? How did you feel? How hard or tough was it?
I think when you're young, you don't really realize it, the impact of these type of things, I guess. For me, I was quite happy, but I think for my family, it was really the hardest because my mom had to leave Singapore with all her friends behind, and yeah, in a way, I feel kind of bad, but I think it's important not to have regrets in life, so.
What a comeback to end the season, and he does so in fantastic fashion.
And now you're competing in the Formula 4 Championship, and you're advancing to the Euro Cup 3 next season. What does it mean to you, to achieve all of this?
You always feel really excited, maybe in a way a bit nervous. I'm quite proud to be, let's say, achieve all of these achievements, but still, I feel like there's always something more that you can do, I guess. I always hate to see somebody win, so yeah.
Let's talk about your injury. How did it happen, and how do you bounce back mentally from those events?
It was quite a big crash in karting, and I think the kart landed on my arm, if I remember. But then I was still 11 at that time, so I didn't really know, I didn't really care what the consequences of that. Yeah, I mean, living life, of course, it hurts a little bit because you can't really sleep properly and you can't really do much stuff. But usually it's just been me coming back.
Mentally, what do you think is required to be a Formula driver?
I think honestly, I think in racing the most important thing is
Wait, actually, when was the last time you've been back in Singapore?
actually, I think it's been 3 months. Was it 2 months ago during summer? Actually, I was just in Singapore, just hanging around. Yeah.
Nice. Not too long ago.
Not
So-
too long. Usually
Yeah.
I come back. I come back every 3 months. Yeah.
Beautiful. So okay, so I want to know what's your favorite Singaporean food that you always go to when you're back in Singapore?
Always chicken rice, no matter what.
Chicken rice,
No matter what, always chicken rice. Yeah.
steamed
Since
or,
young,
or fried?
Steam. Fried is too oily for me. I always get a bad stomach ache after.
Yeah. When I want to keep healthy, it's also steamed for me. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's good. It's good. And yeah. So what do you like to do in your free time? Like during your downtime, when you're not racing, what do you get up to?
Usually I just hang around, to be fair. I mean, obviously I like to play video games quite a bit, so sometimes I do, but back in Singapore, usually I just try to work out quite a bit, just hang around, hang out. But yeah, mainly it's just playing video games, to be honest. Doing
That's
some
cool.
sim occasionally, but not so much.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move on to the main question. So
Yeah.
firstly, congrats on your recent win in Valencia, right?
Yeah.
Just last week. And yeah, I mean, I'm very happy for you, as a Singaporean myself, seeing a fellow countryman performing, on the international stage. And so you started racing at the age of 7. How did it all
Yeah.
start? How did you get into racing?
So actually, before I even started racing, I already started watching Formula 1 when I was young, 4 or 5 years old. So even then, I think I was already quite into, in that time, Formula 1 in general. But I really got into racing when we went for just some fun karting, and after that was just quite natural for me, I think, to start racing because they told me that I had quite a bit of speed or talent in a way. So yeah, I mean, that really propelled me, I guess, to start karting in the first place.
Cool. And I mean, I was looking up at some articles, and I wanted to ask, what does it mean to you to be the world's youngest karting champion? I mean, that's crazy, man. I mean, and also, the first Asian driver to win the FIA Karting Academy trophy?
Yeah, I mean,
And now you're competing in the Formula 4 Championship, and you're advancing to the Euro Cup 3 next season, right?
yeah.
What does it mean to you, to achieve all of this?
I mean, of course, it's really. I'm quite proud to be, let's say, achieve all of these achievements, but still, I feel like maybe I could have been. There's always one thing more. I think, like in karting, maybe I could have been world champion as well. If I just on the last lap, if I just done something better, I'd have been world champion. So, yeah, I mean, there's always something more that you can do, I guess. And even in F4 this year, I feel like maybe I could have gotten like 5 more wins or 6 more wins if I just maybe not made one small mistake during qualifying or even during the race, not gotten a penalty, which I've gotten like several times this year. But yeah, in the end, I think it's just, of course, it's really nice to still achieve all of these things, and I feel really blessed to do that. But it's always that bitter feeling of knowing that you could have done more. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's just like the winner's mindset, right? Like, you can always, there's always room to improve. There's always things that you look back and you feel like, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done that better.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's always looking ahead and getting better and achieving more and wanting to achieve more. So yeah, awesome stuff. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at your results last year and comparing it to this year. I mean, you've been improving leaps and bounds from the 2022 championship. Winning races, getting on the podiums, and currently second overall in the standings. So, I always wondered, how does that feel like for you to stand up there in the podium, holding a trophy, especially after winning a race, like coming in first? Yeah.
Actually, to be honest, I think like I've come in P3 or P2 like several times this year. A bit too much, to be honest, but whenever I'm in first, it's always a really nice feeling. Like you always feel really excited, maybe in a way a bit nervous, but still really a much better feeling than, let's say, P2 or P3 this year. Because for me, I think P2 or P3 has just been I've gotten a bit sick of it, but yeah, I always hate to see somebody win. So yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think this year, like whenever I finish P2 or P3, has always been either a mistake by myself or some circumstance where I get some people just like take me out and they don't get a penalty, but then when I do it, I get a penalty. So yeah, it's not been the best.
Yeah. Does your team celebrate the same way? Whether you get P2 or P1 or P3?
Actually, my manager was actually my team manager, my team principal in a way, was actually quite mad at me because I was really angry at P2 the other time because my teammate passed me off the track, but he didn't get a penalty, and I was like really angry. But in the end, nothing happened. But yeah, it's always, I mean, the team is always happy. It's just maybe my engineer is quite similar to me. So most of the time we're like, whenever I finish P2 or P3, we're not celebrating, but when I finish P1, he's always really excited.
Cool. Wait, so I mean, you're under a team, right? And there's quite a few drivers under that team. So do you guys have like the same engineer or the same people with you, or is it different, like for different teams?
Oh no, it's all separate actually. It's like we're part of a team, but we're all together. So we share like data and we share all the onboard videos, the data, all with each other. And we're all in the same pit box, so we always speak to each other. But it's all different engineers, and basically it's like you're in a team, but you're by yourself in a way. Yeah.
It's like your own squad in a way.
Yeah. When you race, it's always you don't really care what the others do.
Wait, can you hear your teammate like?
No.
Through the mic, through the headset.
Only my engineer. Yeah.
I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I saw that you relocated to Italy at the age of 12 in order to pursue karting in Europe, right? I understand that it was a really difficult choice. I mean, not only for yourself, but for your family, and a huge sacrifice has to be made in order to pursue your dreams. How does it feel back then when you had to leave your family and friends back in Singapore and, adjusting to a completely different new environment, a completely different new country? How did you feel? How hard or tough was it?
I think when you're young, you don't really realize it. Like when you're a bit younger, like when you're 10, 12, it's like obviously I'm still young, but like when you're a bit younger, you don't really realize the impact of these type of things, I guess. But now that I'm a little bit older, I guess, now that you look back at it, it's like, damn, like I could have done this, I could have done that in Singapore at this time. But obviously, I think for my family, it was really the hardest because my mom had to like move from. I think for her it was quite a big change because at that time she had to leave Singapore with all her friends behind, and yeah, I mean, for me, it was just going to a new school. I mean, for me, I was quite happy, but for my mom, maybe it was a bit hard for her. Yeah, in a way, I feel kind of bad, but I think it's important not to have regrets in life. So yeah, that's the most
100%.
important thing.
So, I mean, so now you still been traveling often? Like, do you still, or you're based in the UK, right? That's where
Yeah.
your base is, in a way,
Mm.
in terms of studying, in terms of living, because
Yeah.
it is near all the races, right? Because you're in Europe.
Yeah, sort of. I think in a way the UK has been like, in a way, for me, I feel like maybe it would have been better to move to Spain instead of UK because, I mean, I raced in Spain, so maybe it would have been better there. But I mean, I still travel quite a bit. Like, I think next week I'm going to Geneva just to do some physical training, and then the week after I'm going to Spain again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always quite hectic for me, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the excitement of racing. I guess just going everywhere, just seeing things. You're always preparing for the races. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah, because I was reading an article probably like a month ago where I was looking at all the top F1 drivers, and they all basically live around the same suburb. They live in like
Yeah,
Monte
exactly.
Carlo and all that kind of stuff because it's near everywhere. And I saw a few drivers living in the UK as well, but not majority. So that was interesting.
Just a quick one. I remember back when I was younger, I was going through an incredibly tough period in my life where I had no one to talk to about my problems. There was no place I could share my honest thoughts and feelings because I was just so afraid of being judged by people. And I realized that was so bad for my mental well-being. It's like bottling up everything and just waiting for a day where it all explodes. So no, we're not gonna let that happen for you. Because my team and I have developed a free social app called huddle.so where you can share all your problems anonymously, whatever is currently on your mind that's bothering you, whatever is making you upset or giving you sleepless nights. This is a non-toxic app where you can just be yourself, heal, and make many wholesome friends that will be there for you to support you during difficult times. The app is currently available on iOS at the moment, so good news for iPhone users. But we are working really hard to get an Android version out as soon as we can, so we don't miss out on the rest of you. So trust me, download the app, give it a shot, and I guarantee you that your future you will thank you for taking care of yourself. I'll put the link in the description below as well, and I'll see you in Harvest.
You just completed your GSE O levels, right?
Yep, my O levels. Yeah.
How was that? Was it okay? Nerve-wracking?
Oh, it was okay. It was okay. It was like, some subjects were really good, but then some were. I was like, how can I say this? I was like during further maths.
Yeah.
I had to leave like in the middle of the exam
Oh my god.
because I had a race the same day. So that was the problem. That was like my last, like the rest was fine, like science and everything was all good, like bio, physics. I did quite well, but my further maths, it was like in the middle of my exam. I had a flight at 3 p.m. No, I had a train to catch at 3 p.m. But my exam was at 2 p.m. and my exam was like 2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to like rush out and go for the train, and everything was so hectic. But
Hectic,
still, I
yeah.
think could have been better, but it's not too bad.
Crazy. So wait, are you now preparing for A levels?
I think we're debating about A levels because I'm still doing it, but the problem is that if for example, like next year, we don't want the same thing to happen where I'm like really, the exam dates are like the same dates as my race, because then it's really hard to, I guess, focus in a way, because you're like focused on two things. Yeah. It's a bit too much, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do AS or A levels. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna take all the exams in 1 year or in 2 separate years. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, to be honest, but I'm still doing it. So yeah.
True. So I mean, that being said, how do you balance studying and racing at the same time? I mean, I imagine it must be quite difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, GCSEs, to be honest, was just me. I was just studying like hell, to be honest. Like, because at the start of the year, I was actually supposed to do biochem physics, all of them, but then like I was quite unlucky because my race was on like Thursday, Friday was my race. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Thursday, Friday were 2 of my exams, so I actually couldn't do 2 papers. So I was like, in the end we had to stop chemistry because of that. So in a way, it was like quite annoying because like I was just like finding the dates and just trying to adjust everything, and it was really hectic. And because you can't move the dates of the exam as well, so I really had to prioritize the exam over the race in a way. But I mean, to study for it was just jamming everything. Like whenever I had time, I was just studying like quite crazily until maybe like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. every day. I mean, quite like Singapore, but
Yeah.
not so bad, I guess. Yeah. But I think A levels, I'm sure it's quite hard. It's much harder. So yeah, I think it's better for me to, I guess, start preparing a bit early. Yeah.
Definitely. So is it a lot of online lessons, or is it a mix of physical and online lessons? How do you navigate that?
Actually, to be honest, during that time, I didn't really. I mean, I was still studying in school, but usually I was just trying to have as much tuition as possible, or like, because I have a tutor in Singapore, so
Yeah.
I was always going through a lot of stuff with him before, because most of the time I'm actually not in school that often, to be honest. Like, I'm always in the workshop or somewhere, so I always have to have somebody to, I guess, help me catch up or help me to revise. So like whenever I'm back in Singapore or in the UK, I usually go to tuition center or just have lessons online just to keep my brain fresh and try to refresh my brain for exams. Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about your injury. So from what I know, you broke your arm and shoulder before, yeah, when racing. So how
Yeah,
did
I
that
think
how did that happen, and how do you bounce back mentally from those events?
yeah, that was quite a while ago. Actually, I think it was like when I was 11 actually, so it was quite a
11.
while. But yeah, I mean, breaking an arm is like I actually flipped, so it wasn't. It was quite a big crash in karting, and
Yeah.
I think the cart landed on my arm, if I remember. But then the arm that I landed on when I flew out of the cart was the arm that I broke. But then the
Yeah.
cart landed on my other arm, so it was like really bruised, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So when I broke I think it was my right arm. I didn't have to do surgery because it was still fractured, so it was like on the verge of breaking, but it hadn't broke yet. But to be honest, I think when you break an arm, it hurts quite a bit initially, but like in the middle, like in between you taking the cast off and you actually breaking the arm in the first place, it didn't really hurt that much. It's just staying in place and just not moving. So yeah, I mean, living life, of course, like it hurts a little bit because like you can't really sleep properly and you can't really do much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think to recover from that, it wasn't too bad because I didn't really think much of it. To be honest, I knew it didn't really affect me, and I was still 11 at that time, so I didn't really know. I didn't really care what the consequences of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think. But the funny thing was that right after I broke my arm, my wrist, my other wrist, right after that, like 1 month after. But not from racing. I broke it from a scooter accident. So yeah, and then after that, like I think 1 year later, I broke my arm again, but it was from a karting accident where like my throttle was stuck onto max throttle and I couldn't stop the kart, so I just went straight into the wall, and I broke my arm that time, and that one it hurt quite a bit. So yeah, I'm not sure, but usually it's just been me coming back, and it's just I mean the time out that I had was like maybe 4 weeks or 3 weeks, so it wasn't too long. It wasn't too bad, to be honest. Yeah.
So you just, after you get injured, you just rest up your hand, and then after
Yeah,
what do you
it's not
train
like,
it again, like with a physio or?
oh yeah, no, I remember because after the last time I broke my arm, actually when I took the cast off, it was really weak. My arm was like really weak, so we had to do some quite a bit of physical training on the right arm, I think, or I don't know which arm it was, but yeah, it was quite a bit of physical training just to get it back to shape. But yeah, honestly, I think it's it wasn't too bad. Yeah.
I mean, mentally, what do you think is required, like to be a Formula driver?
Yeah. I think honestly, like I think in racing, the most important thing is being mentally strong. Like even if you're like 10 times physically better than somebody, it won't really matter. Like basketball or like football, where if you're like really strong physical, you completely dominate the other person. Because like I think racing, if you think about it, it's just in simple terms, it's just pressing pedals and turning a steering wheel in a way, which I don't think is more related to maybe your reaction time, how fast you can analyze things in your brain, just to go fast. It's not really anything else, to be honest. Like, I mean, if you look at somebody like Verstappen or Hamilton, they're not. I mean, they were, of course, they're like really. They're not really physically gifted, I guess, in a way, but they're more like, in a way, you can say they're talented. But in my opinion, talent is more based on your mental attributes compared to your physical attributes, in a way. But of course, it depends on each sport. Yeah. But honestly, I think your mental is really strong in racing. It has to be really strong in racing just to be able to like be consistent, focus well. I think focus is probably the most important out of every single thing in racing. Like now, I'm trying to work on my concentration actually a little bit in racing, which is why I go to which is why I'm going to this training area. But I mean, in racing, most of the time you have to train. Instead of maybe training like just your physicals, you have to train your reaction time, train your focus, concentration, your feeling of the car. All of those can be trained. So yeah, that's what you're just trying to work on. Or what I'm trying to work on.
So there's not much work in the gym. I mean, there's still work in the gym, but not as much compared to all this mental.
Actually, I think
work.
it's still quite a bit. Like you still have to work like every day, just go to the gym every day. And I mean, when I'm back in the workshop or back to the factory, we work out 2 times every day, which is still quite a bit. Or when I'm somewhere else, we still train quite a bit, but obviously not. I don't think not as hard, or it's still not as hard as somebody who does basketball, but it's still different parts of the body, I guess. Like basketball, usually you train your I don't know what you train in basketball, but usually in racing it's just training your neck, training your basically everything, and just trying to be balanced everywhere. Because to turn the wheel of a car, which is like in Formula One, I think the car is like 1,000 kg. Or no, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, it's not. I think you have to have a lot of strength, obviously, to do that. Obviously, you have power steering to help you with that, but still in Formula 2, where the car is like still really heavy, I think you really have to have a lot of physical strength. And also, in to pump the brakes, you have to have maybe 100 bars of braking power, which I don't know how much that is in kg, but I think it's around 100 kg of braking strength just to stop the car a little bit, and also 5G, and also the Gs as well, which is quite crazy. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I think it's hard physically, but if you put the work in, I think it's not too bad, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, cool. I mean, that's a cool insight to have in Formula racing. And I mean, whatever you just mentioned just reminded me of an article I read also between Hamilton and Rosberg, like the rivalry back then. Like, because, they were saying like Rosberg was more analytical or more mental.
No, yeah, but he was like, Rosberg was like, how can I say this? He was, I think from what I heard, he was like training really hard mentally. Like, that's the reason why I think he stopped in Formula 1, because he was like, to beat Lewis, I think he had to work like crazy. Like every day he was like pushing really hard and stuff in terms of the mental side and the physical side. Which is why I think at the end he just, I mean, after 8 years or 7 years of not beating Lewis, I think in the end
he left on a high at a young age.
He just wanted, exactly, yeah. I mean, I think it's I think it was like a relief that he beat him in a way after all the work that he put in. I think that was the feeling that he got.
That's cool. That was just one of the very, very interesting thing that I saw, because they said that because they were saying that Lewis wasn't that analytical compared to Rosberg, but he's. I mean, before Rosberg won him, like the seasons prior, Hamilton was. He proved them wrong as well.
Yeah, I think it's a mix, to be fair. I mean, if you look at guys like Verstappen or Hamilton, they're all very, very naturally talented, I guess. Like, they don't really have to put much effort in, but they're like hilariously quick, like Leclerc as well. But yeah, I mean, it's all about how fast you can be as well. I don't think it really matters how. I mean, obviously, if you're like in F1, I think if you're smarter than the other guy, more like you said, analytical, I guess it can help a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's all about how fast you are. So yeah.
I think beautiful. So I think that's the end of the podcast. I mean, thanks for coming on, and also just want to wish you good luck for your last race in Barcelona.
Thank you.
And we're all cheering you on. I mean, all the Singaporeans, we're all looking out for you and behind you. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. We'll follow you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the most important thing is just to never give up and never let people push you down, and always come back stronger from a letdown. Yeah, in a way, I think that's the general feeling of life. I think, I guess I'm quite lucky to have learned it from something like this, and also from my parents, which is in a way in a way a blessing. So yeah, I'm quite happy. But yeah, I mean, now I have the last race to maneuver, and yeah, hopefully a few more wins there, and looking forward to next year.